Welcome to Marketer's Alchemy, where we pull back the curtain on the intricate world of data-driven marketing. On this show, we delve into the convergence of marketing as an art form and data as a scientific foundation, unveiling the secrets to turning raw data into marketing gold. I'm your host, Catherine Turnoff, Senior Product Manager at Deluxe. Join us as we dive into real-life case studies and give you a front row seat to industry pioneers and visionaries. Welcome to Marketer's Alchemy, turning data into gold. I'm Catherine Turnoff, and I'm here with Clare Dorrian, CMO of SugarCRM, whose mission is to help marketing, sales, and customer service teams achieve high-definition customer experience. Welcome, Clare.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
We're so excited to have you. So can you tell us a little bit about your career journey up to becoming the CMO at Sugar?
Of course. Well, first thing I'll say is I took a non-traditional route into marketing. I graduated as a language student. I had a love of language. Marketing wasn't even in my vocabulary. It wasn't even a career path that I saw for myself. But I joined very quickly a small software company in Scotland in a non-role. This probably tells you something about me.
Right?
I fast found myself front and center with customers, pitching proposals, trying to make sense of, what it was that customers needed. And in that role, in that business, I worked in pre-sales. And the CMO of the business at the time sort of tapped me on the shoulder and said, I think you need to move over to the marketing side of the house. So it was happenstance, to be perfectly honest with you, that brought me to marketing. But I will tell you that journey right out of university gave me the most amazing grounding in the importance of messaging, in the importance of understanding your customers, that I hope I was able to bring into marketing. And from there, I think as most of us do, I started as a marketing generalist and then I moved over to product marketing, honing the craft of really understanding what I perceive to be more the commercial side and the messaging and the positioning side, before I moved back to what I would argue is my comfort zone, which is demand generation. And through several acquisitions, I found myself in the AKKR portfolio, and here I am back again as a first-time CMO. And fun fact maybe for you, Catherine, and for the audience, I joined Sugar 6 weeks before the pandemic.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And I would not recommend that, for anybody as a first-time CMO to join a business at a moment in time where the world shut down.
Right. You really have to prove yourself in more ways than one.
You really do, because as you know, first 30, 60, 90 days in any marketing role, it's about the listening tour and it's about building relationships. And all of a sudden, this became my avenue to do so, So, yeah, I'm very happy, though. I'm very happy I found marketing, like I say, even though through happenstance. And here I am at Sugar in a very interesting market.
I mean, happenstance or not, I feel like starting a new role at the start of the pandemic, you can do anything after this. Once, you just have to lead with that. Here's what I did. Everyone's like, oh, she's got it. Whatever. We could trust her.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of us were faced with lots of different challenges at that time, right? So
all new, figuring it out. Yeah, for sure.
And isn't that what keeps us awake at night, right? As marketeers, here's another challenge, whether it's data or data-driven challenges, which I'm sure we're going to talk about today, or whether it's just relationship dynamics or the way you're doing business, change is just a core part of who we are as a marketing engine, right?
Agree. And the better you can roll with it, I think the easier things tend to be on you. Yeah,
exactly.
So let's head into our first segment, Alchemy Unveiled, Mixing Marketing Potions. Can you tell us a little bit about what data SugarCRM uses that makes it unique from other CRMs?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, this CRM industry just doesn't have a very good reputation, full stop. And let me just put it out there. What's unique about what we do at Sugar is we are trying to encourage salespeople to sell better, smarter, faster. And ultimately, it's about the customer that they are trying to sell to feeling like they have the right value proposition that's, fit for purpose. And I think that the one thing that we do somewhat differently to many other vendors in our space who offer BI tools, who offer Gen AI tools, we serve up those insights within the CRM. So you want to know what lead is more likely to convert? It's right there in your dashboard first thing in the morning as a BDR rep. You want to know what opportunity you should be spending more time on because it has a better ICP fit, ideal customer profile fit, and or it's more likely to close because guess what? It matches a profile of many of the customers that you have already as a sales rep. You have that front and center. So you're not having to go to your data science team to, if you are a smaller business, because not everybody has the luxury of a data science team. And you're not having to go to a function, a set of human beings to make sense of that for you. It's served up right there in front of you in your workflow for you to action immediately. And I think that, a lot of that has to do for us, Catherine, with we serve businesses that look a lot like Sugar, and we're an impatient business, and time is money. And we also don't have the deep pockets of many enterprises. So we had to fast find a way to serve up those data and those insights in an integrated fashion, but in a way that was very actionable, because that is what our ideal customer profile expects.
How is it that Sugar is able to do that? Like, can you give us a glimpse into the tools or the methodology that you use to take that data and give it into meaningful insights for your consumers?
Yeah, so it probably won't surprise you. We have a predictive engine that sits behind the platform that is constantly churning through the data entry and the new data that's coming in, and marrying that with the data that exists and pushing that through learning models, language learning models, to determine, well, what does that change? What does that do to our ideal customer profile? What opportunities does that serve up? And then because it's baked into the platform that sits behind the application, it's easy for us to then go and extract that. But we also are taking in data sets outside and external to our CRM. And I think that's also really important to feeding those insights too.
Can we talk about some of those data sets? What types of data do you use that help bolster maybe the first party data that you have?
So there are a number of different third parties. So whether it's demographic, geographic, whether it's growth stats in geographies that our customers operate in, there are lots of different data sets that we pull in. But I want to be clear, because I know that this is front and center for a lot of businesses who are looking to generative AI and large language models to help bolster insights, not necessarily actionable insights, but insights that they want to help grow their business, make their business more efficient. Security and ethics is obviously a massively important part of how you are handling that data, what you're doing with that data. And I think it's incumbent on us as vendors to really help others understand that, we've got them as customers. And so that's also something that our product team take very, very seriously as they do continue to evolve and build out the capabilities that we're offering.
We hear that from so many marketers that navigating that AI landscape is difficult, right? The regulations may be different between industry, between countries, things like that. And so I know it's reassuring for our listeners that, this is on the forefront of Sugar's mind, and it's something that you pride yourselves in. Yeah, that's
100%.
Right.
And here's the thing as well, Catherine, we're using this, we're using these insights ourselves. So we've got to comply.
Right.
So there's double the reason to take it seriously, double the reason.
Makes sense. What is a recent aha moment you've had as CMO at Sugar?
Using data on our website. So I think that there is a theory in our industry that as vendors, we need to put pricing front and center. That, as part of the buyer journey, we need to be very, very clear, not only what it is that you get, but at what price point.
Mm-hmm.
And we have run on our website, actually, a a qualitative survey on our pricing page. And I think what has surprised me is, and it's only been running for 4 weeks, so this is actually in the last 24 hours, an aha, Catherine.
Okay, very recent.
So it's a good question. And what we're finding is, in actual fact, the people that are coming to our website, they want to talk to somebody about price. They really aren't caring about what it is that we're positioning on price on our website. And this is the beauty of data, right? It sort of flags the opportunity for you to think differently. And, this is something we are going to think long and hard about because, like I say, has been an expectation, certainly in our industry for a long time, that has to be front and center. And yet, there's our website traffic, there's our website visitors telling us, you know what? No, I actually want to talk to somebody about this. And maybe that's symptomatic of, CRM is perceived to be complex. Maybe that's symptomatic of just people need that human touch more than they ever do. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. So yeah, the insight that we've got from the data that we've gleaned from website traffic, website engagement, but also the survey-based insight is telling us that we need to look long and hard about what we do with pricing on the website. Maybe we should, get bold and remove it. But I think this is also where I talk a lot to my team about data is really instrumental. It's the foundation of more than it ever has been, I think, of us as a marketing function. But so's intuition. Don't ever overlook that the marriage of the two is what you should be leaning in and towards. The data can only get you so far, Catherine, in my humble opinion.
No, I completely agree. And I love that you mentioned that. Do you have any examples of a time where you disregarded data for your gut feeling, right?
Whenever I'm being asked, Claire, is there opportunity to go look at growing a segment? Or whenever I am, as I do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, looking at our core KPIs, there's probably instinct that kicks in terms of, why are those conversions not looking the way that they are? But I hate to say it, I will always go back to the data set to help instruct, guide, form a discussion or a debate, with the team that I need to understand what's going on with those conversion rates or why has the website traffic dropped off. I may offer up initially a gut instinct as to why. Oh, it's July, 4th of July, everybody's gone out for the holidays. But I wouldn't necessarily draw any firm conclusions or actions based on instinct. And I think that's why, for me, I love the interplay of the two. So sadly, I can't think of an example.
No, it makes sense. I think also it probably speaks to more that your intuition is aligned with your data, right? Like, I think, right, you're just advanced. Yeah.
Maybe. I'm sure my team would tell me I get it wrong. But again, that's maybe also why I lean on the data to get me half of the way, to give me half of the story, half of the narrative. And then
you can take it the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our next segment, from nuggets to campaign gold. So how has the data you use transformed seemingly traditional marketing practices into a more scientific and targeted approach at Sugar?
So the one that I love to share is a situation that I think many marketers face when sales come to you with a list of accounts that they want to go target. And it's because they've either worked in those accounts historically, they crave fancy penetrating those accounts, or that they think there's some sort of fit to the profile or the market segment that you're pursuing. Here at Sugar, I'm not saying we've been immune to that. Two things that we have done to arrive at a target account list that ultimately we felt was a much better fit, where we stood a much better chance to win. Firstly, using our Gen AI, looking at where have we won historically? How did we win historically? Does that segment look a lot like the segments in the territory that this seller has brought to us? Number one. But importantly, we also use intent data. So are there signals out there in the market in these accounts that are going to allow us to get a jump start on engaging with an account. Selling is
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
And we come before all of that, and we accompany the sales life cycle and beyond, don't get me wrong. But it can take time to convince somebody that they even have a need, to help them understand how you fit. And so what we did was we married the insight from our platform about where we knew we could be successful with intent signals. And I don't mind saying, we're using Bombora and Triblio, and both are integrated into our CRM platform. And we did that to vet and validate these long lists of accounts that sales felt like we needed to go pursue. And it probably won't surprise you that the list that we ended up with looked very different to the list that we started with. Why do I use that as a success story of how we've used data? One, because I think it gave us the opportunity to work collaboratively with our sales counterparts, without whom we can't be successful anyway.
Right.
And it also takes the buyers out of who should be on that list in the first place, and where, quite frankly, sales and marketing should be spending their precious dollars and their precious time. And so I use that as an example, a very foundational example, one might say, but something that I think every marketer can relate to, particularly if you live in a demand generation role, of something that is, pretty basic. Look at the data, look at where you've won historically. And, does that have any parallels with an account list that sales are coming to you with?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then challenge hard.
What a great example, too, of kind of to talk about earlier, right? The disregarding your gut feeling, right? Sales is coming to you. These are their gut feelings. And you're saying, yeah, this is what the data is showing. And I think I can guess the ending, right? But at the end of that exercise, were the account conversions more successful? Like, did you gain your sales team's trust?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now, one thing I will say is I'm a big believer in experimentation. And so in that list, we left, I think we landed on, it was either 10 or 15% of those accounts. We said to the salesperson, look, you say you've got relationships, you say you know that account. Here's your zone for experimentation, but we're not banking on it. We're not banking on it. And I think that's also a great philosophy, and something I would encourage marketing to do more of when working with sales counterparts. Give them, as you're collaborating with them to build that target account list, give them the space to do what they do best and what they believe in and what they believe to be true. But just don't bank your KPIs on them being successful. And then that way I feel like you end up with a bit of a win-win for everyone, right? The salesperson feels listened to, but they've gotten to, as you say, they've gotten to trust you as you've gone through that exercise of using data to vet and validate and ensure that you are teeing them up for success. And I think the other thing that came out of that exercise, Catherine, really importantly, was a ready-made list of target stakeholders in that account for that salesperson to get on the phone to and reach out to. When what they came to us with was just a set of accounts.
Right.
That we knew nothing about.
Do you have an example of a campaign where you've used data sets that are both unique and not unique to Sugar, and how that's made you and your team more successful?
I would come back to the conversation we were having earlier, Catherine, where, I think it's expected that as marketeers, when we construct a campaign, we look at what tactics have worked in the past. What's the demographic of individual who is a good fit for XYZ product in my portfolio? I think the piece that, some people have got ahead of, we certainly have embraced it, is layering in that intent on top. And I think that's where the creativity has come in, is that there is a whole world out there. Some call it the dark funnel, call it what you will. I hate that phrase, to be honest with you. But there's a whole world of data and insights out there that you're not privy to if you are not doing a good job of better understanding how that can help fine-tune you, identifying opportunities for growth, identifying underserved segments in your install base. You're doing yourself a disservice. And And probably the example I will give you of where we have actually married the two together, we're in a market up against Goliath. I'm not going to give them the pleasure of some airtime in naming who they are. But what we found was that there was a certain segment of prospects that we were losing. And our data from within our CRM indicated that we were losing based on price. And so we conversely then looked at, is this type of profile of account when searching outside of sugar, does price feature? How does that rank? Is that something really important? And we did that not only through bringing in the intent insights from Bombora, but also we actually did some qualitative interviews with customers as well. And in actual fact, that wasn't the case. And so instead of building and constructing a campaign where we went out with a promotional offer, what we actually ended up doing, Catherine, was because we found that one of the biggest hurdles to moving any kind of CRM, whether it was us or another, was the data migration. That's what gives people a heartache. How do I make sure my crown jewels of data stay safe as I move from one CRM to the other? And so we went to bat internally with different functions within Sugar to say, we need a tool to help manage that data conversion better, faster, smarter than any of our competitors can do. And we now offer that as, something when we face and find ourselves in competitive situations against some of the Goliaths. And, our win rate there is about a third better than it is when we're in different circumstances for new logo acquisition. It's working. It's working.
I love how Sugar takes a voice of customer through surveys or just so many different data inputs and really helps it construct what's next. I find that really fascinating.
I think that this is something, that no matter what role you're in, I have the privilege of looking after digital. I have the privilege of looking after our business development team because sometimes that lives in sales. Listen back to your calls. There are nuggets in there. That is insights, that you can use to better form the conversation that you're having with your prospect next go around. It doesn't always have to come from the CRM.
To switch gears a little, with the recent acquisition of SalesEye, what is on the horizon for Sugar when it comes to your data-driven marketing efforts?
Oh, firstly, I love this product. So SalesEye have historically sold to the distribution segment. So think about businesses and organizations who have very large product SKUs and who may also have very large, rules of engagement that go with that, what you sell in what circumstance. And that's why they've, been successful in the distribution segment. But there's lots of market segments that have complex, portfolios, credit unions, financial services.
Yeah.
And so we have ambitions to take them beyond where they are, first and foremost. But I think from a data perspective, what excites me most is what SalesEye brings is the ability to make sense of the SKUs that are working. So as a distributor and a field rep, because often they are out in the field, on the road in that segment, they're not having to wait to be told what to go sell. What SalesEye is going to do is make sense of what has sold historically and sold well and where. And together with Sugar, where we can say, you've won most here, as in this type of account, this type of engagement works best, all of a sudden, you have a ready-made recipe for a sales rep out in the field that says, go sell to that segment in this way using these tactics. And we're super excited about the power of what that can do, not just in the distribution segment, but also, beyond that.
What other data initiatives are you currently working on?
Oofed. What do we have? Well, we've just acquired a business, so migrating their data set and combining their data set with ours is actually our number one priority right now. And
no
so
small task.
no small task. We're going through that exercise of looking at, well, what does that data lifecycle look like? How does it compare to ours? How do we marry the two together so that we have consistency and or agreed differentiation in terms of the sales process that we, that we ladder in? What data do they capture? I mean, just yesterday, what is the health of their data? Do they have a lot of crud that's sitting in their database that we need to get rid of and or supplement prior to migration? So that's actually, probably one of the less exciting data projects that we have on right now at Sugar. But it's just the reality that we face as a highly acquisitive business, unfortunately.
Not as glamorous, but it's definitely like the good work that needs to be done. We get it.
Yeah. And isn't that important, that you have solid, robust foundations? Because, we talk a lot about, rubbish in, rubbish out. And, that is something that has plagued our industry segment for a long time. We talk a lot about ditching the data entry. You should have to repeat your name when you talk to the call center. As a sales rep, you shouldn't have to, go searching in several different systems to figure out what it is that, your customer has. Those data insights should be served up to you front and center. And so that's our bread and butter. That's what we do all day, every day. That's what drives products. But yeah, right now from a marketing perspective, it's all about having a single source of the truth as a highly acquisitive business, the foundations.
I love that. Yeah, you get the foundation right, and then the rest, the innovative, the fun pieces can come.
Exactly. Like, where can we go grow, the sales side
right.
business, all those things that we just talked about earlier.
So for our last segment, we like to have a little bit of fun here and what we call our gold rush round.
Okay.
So if you could give a piece of advice to your younger marketing self about data-driven marketing, what would it be?
Get with the program. Honestly, I think that when you heard me say my journey into marketing was not deliberate, was not intentional.
Right.
And so my first sort of exposure and honestly excitement and motivation probably led more to the creative side of marketing. Are we messaging in the right way? Is it compelling? Data was an afterthought. Today, I would be telling myself, that was a long time ago. I have wrinkles.
Couple of years.
Yeah. I'd be telling myself, get with the data program, start with the data, supplement with human beings, whether they're customer prospect insights like we talked about, whether that's talking to the sales reps who are out in the field about what they're seeing is resonating. I would have told myself back then, I would tell any marketer coming in that it doesn't really matter what role you are in. Even if you are a creative, don't you want to know which of your creatives is working? Like which layout is performing better than the other? Like you got to get with the program, gang. You got to get with the program. So that's what I would say. I think I was dazzled by the creative lights and fast realized that there was, there was a left brain, right brain thing that was really important to being successful here.
And embracing, I think that data piece is, like you said, valuable even for non-marketers. Yeah.
100%.
What are some of your favorite places to learn and stay on top of the latest data and marketing trends?
So, have you heard of Chris Walker?
I have not.
You need to go check him out.
Is this what I'm doing this afternoon? Okay. All right.
So, Chris Walker is somebody, he's an entrepreneur. And an investor, but he's also walked a mile in our shoes in marketing. And about 2-3 years ago now, he set up a business, Refine Labs, purely based on the fact that he felt too many marketers were not using data to better inform how to go to market, what they spend, what they should be doing. He very much also challenge the status quo of what data you should be looking at. And he talks a lot about high intent data and non-high intent data in marketing. And I feel like he's really starting to change the conversation, particularly as it relates to demand generation. He's got a really great podcast now as well. He's now sort of building out the portfolio of, as you might expect, businesses that complement one another, the sort of consulting firm, the tech firm. But I find him to be pragmatic, insightful. I love that he's pushing the boundaries. And I would highly recommend him. He's pretty prevalent on LinkedIn. So if you don't have time to digest one of his podcast episodes, he posts fairly regularly on LinkedIn as well.
And how about one company besides Sugar, of course, that you see making a real impact with how they're using data in marketing?
I'm going to step outside of, tech and what I do every day from a professional perspective and just jump straight into my personal life. I'm staring right at my husband's giant television screen, Netflix. I mean, I'm not saying they got it right, but one of the very first to embrace live TV streaming and who have started to use that to inform the algorithms that are starting to make recommendations, not only on what we watch or what we might like to watch, but also what shows they produce, and I find it, like I say, I'm not saying they got it right. Instagram certainly has not. But 8 times out of 10, what Netflix is recommending, it's right in the, it's solid. It's in the right, it's solid. It's in the right ballpark.
I completely agree.
And so, I look to them as, and they were doing this 10 years ago, by the way, long before it really became mainstream conversation, for all of us. I would give a shout out to Netflix.
Okay. This has been a great conversation, Claire. Thank you so much. You are a delightful guest. How can our listeners check out the work you're doing?
Honestly, the best place to find me is LinkedIn or Instagram. Okay. Instagram more personal, but LinkedIn is my business channel of choice online. And, it's where I share, it's where I point to things that I care about. Join me on LinkedIn, gang. Join the conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you. Listeners, if you don't want to miss the next episode, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Catherine Turnoff, and this is Marketer's Alchemy.